Good afternoon. Today we are introducing Tenealle Hay, Michael Wenman, Aaron Medcalf and Nicole. Our team of pre-service teachers is proposing an action research project which can be implemented in an Australian secondary school classroom. This project focuses on increasing student achievement and engagement through the modification of lessons based on multiple intelligence theory.
The purpose of this ARC is to ascertain if practically applying MIT modifications to the design, content and pedagogy of a lesson can increase achievement through improved engagement. Essentially, in better understanding students' preferred multiple intelligences, it is theorised that the intervention of the proposed ARC will increase their engagement by catering to their individual intelligence.
Multiple intelligence theory was defined by Howard Gardner in the 1980s as a cognitive approach to intelligence theory, which suggests that we each learn differently, and that learning is best when we are intellectually stimulated in many ways.
8 intelligence types have been identified: linguistic, logical mathematical, spatial visual, musical, bodily kinesthetic, naturalistic, interpersonal, and intrapersonal. These intelligences are suggested to be possessed by all people. However, within each individual, some intelligences are stronger and preferred over others.
Although numerous limitations of this theory have been explored in the gathering of background information, which focused on catering for multiple intelligences within a secondary classroom, the potential opportunities and ongoing recognition of MIT within the educational sector makes it a feasible and suitable topic to research further.
In line with the 6 cyclical steps of action research to date, steps 1, 2 and 3 have been completed. A problem that will be addressed within interventions of the ARC is explained further. Within the current Australia secondary school context, teachers are expected to increasingly meet multiple demands such as curriculum, assessment, student capability frameworks, individual school policies and models, Australian professional standards for teachers, parents' expectations, as well as the individual educational needs of each student.
Furthermore, the delivery of education and classroom content which meets the needs of each individual student can be embedded in a multitude of theories and models, such as 21st century learning, visible learning, project-based learning, and the inquiry-based learning. With consideration of all of these competing demands, our proposed ARC is needed to determine if one of the specific theories, multiple intelligence theory, is a suitable and effective model for increasing student engagement and outcomes. In understanding the impact of MIT on students, we'll be able to better understand if MIT is an educational theory that should be more widely used across secondary classrooms as an effective pedagogical approach.
Step 2. Gather background information. Step 2 of the ARC involved the completion of a literature review and collective data analysis, which focused on catering for multiple intelligences within a secondary classroom. In completing the literature review, a number of subtopics were explored, including the effectiveness, advantages, and disadvantages of MI in the secondary classroom, using MIT to increase student achievement, practical application of MIT in the classroom, and differentiated instruction and assessment using MIT.
Research methods presented in the literature predominantly applied mixed method research, which include both qualitative and quantitative data collection, such as control and experimental groups, observations, pre-tests and post-tests, interviews and surveys.
In discussing the key findings, the limitations of the research literature must be addressed. The most predominant limitation was the availability of recent data within the typical 5-year academic threshold. As discussed earlier, this is predominantly due to MIT being released in the 1980s and modern theories overshadowing its use in more recent years. The second major limitation was a limited availability of Australian-based MIT research, which explores not only the applications of MIT in Australian educational institutions, but more specifically, MIT in Australian secondary schools. As is demonstrated, it is because of these limitations that the need for a locally based MIT-focused Australian secondary classroom ARC is strengthened. Key findings of the collective literature reviews, which guide the direction of the ARC, focus on 3 key themes. These being MIT complements and enhances other pedagogical approaches to increase student achievement. MIT enhances lessons to make learning more appealing. The greatest challenge is assessing and understanding students' preferred MI learning style, and teachers need to support all of the MI learning styles within the classroom.
MIT was evidenced to increase student achievement by enabling teachers to improve learning materials and the learning environment in which lessons were delivered. In a study of 75 high school students who were split into a control group and an experimental group over an 8-week period, Akuz and Akai found that by improving the learning environment through MIT, teachers were able to positively influence students' learning manner and increase intrinsic motivation and encourage active student engagement. This research was also supported by Koch.
Literature suggests that approaching teaching in at least 5 different ways and matching teaching to learning styles will allow all students to access the information, as supported by Pienaar, Camper, and Nyman in 2011, who studied a grade 8 class and their 5 teachers over an 11-month period. A variety of strategies as catered for in an MI approach to teaching and learning is one of the teacher's best means of reaching the full range of learners and making learning deep and memorable for all learners.
There is little controversy in the notion that certain students learn more successfully when their lessons are tailored to their specific needs, and multiple intelligence theories seem to adequately address this idea. The question is simply whether the theory is being utilised effectively and how a teaching practice might be refined to identify strengths of students and maximise their potential through it.
The collective data analysis from this research showed many interesting results, with each data analysis protocol yielding a result that is unique to the source of the data. All of the research that was conducted for this action research project was conducted at 4 different schools, all with unique and complex contexts. From the data that was collected, there are a few major connecting themes that were evident in one or more of the collective data analysis. These themes include use of assumed preferred MI increases student engagement, use of assumed non-preferred MI increases student disengagement and dissatisfaction, students achieve higher outcomes as a result of MI employment in the classroom. More could be done to include MI as a learning tool in the classroom.
The survey suggested that 90% of participants believe students weren't given the chance within the classroom to express their knowledge through multiple intelligences. A large portion of the participants strongly agreed that schools should be accommodating to multiple intelligences in the classroom. 100% of participants indicated that if they were given the opportunity to choose their preferred intelligence to complete their work, they would. The secondary intelligence shifted further in favour of the types of intelligence biased by the method of teaching.
Overall, the surveys provided a useful insight into the minds of the students. It can be seen that the students are intelligent and do prefer some methods of teaching, or MI, over others, and that teachers can influence the students to acquire certain traits from other MI that might not be suitable for them. The findings of the survey are definitive, where 100% of all participants from one survey indicated that they would complete work from their preferred MI if they were given the chance.
Observations that were conducted suggested that limited MIT approaches, traditional pedagogical approaches, can achieve success in the classroom. Use of assumed preferred MI increases student engagement, while the use of assumed non-preferred MI increases student disengagement and dissatisfaction.
Interviews suggested teachers are aware of the different learning styles of their students. The engagement levels of the student rises when their specific learning needs are catered for, i.e. being given a task which is tailored specifically to their preferred MI or learning style. It is a struggle to design and construct each lesson to meet all of the different multiple intelligences. In an attempt to keep some sort of order and structure to the lesson, teachers will often accommodate for the more mainstream MI or learning styles of the classroom. And the research into MI is relatively vague as it isn't really used in mainstream schools. Rather, more traditionally pedagogical methods are used to help engage students.
What did we learn from this collective data analysis? Students and teachers both agree that the use of MI increases student engagement in the classroom. This is a point that has been backed by the research leading into our project.
Assuming the learning style of a student is never the way to go, the teachers involved in this study are aware that this doesn't work. Subsequently, the students are equally as aware. The students that participated in this study were active participants and were well aware of the different learning styles that they possessed, and were able to identify whether or not their needs were being met in the classroom. However, not every student is equipped to know which learning style suits them best.
Intervention strategy. Our aim here is to engage students further in the classroom through the application of multiple intelligence theory. We'll be using a minimum of 4 to 5 different strategies in our lesson plans to ensure as many of the students as possible are able to connect with the lessons in a format that matches their dominant intelligence. Our aim is to collect the data associated with improved engagement, where that engagement is monitored over the course of several lessons rather than gauged at a single point at the end of the unit of work. This tends to be more qualitative data, such as body language, relevance of talking and noise in the classroom, quality of the work, and meeting the lesson outcomes.
A number of ethical considerations need to be considered, such as the personal and social context of each student within the classroom. Ethical considerations we will include for the duration of the action research project include: firstly, ensure we maintain a professional role as a teacher, whereby we ensure we are not influencing student responses, thus impacting upon research results. Furthermore, the research process and outcome shouldn't have an impact on student-teacher relationships. Secondly, we will be managing and storing data to protect the identity and privacy of students. This process also transfers across the release and communication of data to any other people or stakeholders, such as other teaching staff, whereby students' identity remains anonymous. And thirdly, we will seek appropriate parental and student permission for the research, whereby participants are thoroughly informed about the project and use of the information. Should participants choose to withdraw, it is our role as researchers to respect their decision.
At its essence, the intervention strategy our group is proposing involves a deliberate intervention of teaching methodology that has become more student-focused. There are 2 ways to look at the education of students. Firstly, subjects and facts might be seen as the goal of the process. In this pedagogical model, it doesn't matter where the students begin their educational journey. Instead, the focus is simply on making sure they reach specifically designated goals that can be marked and standardized. Secondly, the enrichment of students might be seen as the goal. This is complementary to the notions of the first perspective, where one side considers the end of the journey while the other side considers the journey's start. What we've found as a group is that much of the research data focuses on getting the students to the end of the journey rather than helping them start the process. Without creating a comfortable learning environment, many students struggle to take on new ideas. But we believe that through careful application of multiple intelligence theory, we can kickstart the process of knowledge acquisition and use a student's natural aptitudes and intelligence affinities to smooth the path of their educational journey. The observation of students linking their identity to a single mode of intelligence while remaining somewhat malleable in their less focused intelligence areas means it should be possible to provide a number of learning styles in the classroom to accommodate for all students, even if their specific intelligence type isn't addressed by the teacher's lessons. Like all educational research, it'll take a specific application in the classroom to see if our theories hold true.